The Great Hall of Nexus Prime stretched out like a giant metal cave. Its walls curved up and up until they disappeared into darkness above. Lights floated in the air without any wires or supports, casting soft glows on the hundreds of strange beings gathered below. Admiral Park Hyonu watched it all from his chair on Earth's orbital station. The big screen in front of him showed the alien meeting happening far away from Earth. He had watched these meetings for 20 years now. Every time the aliens talked about his people, every time they laughed. "Sir, the Vorthon speaker is starting." "Again," said Lieutenant Kim Sojin. She sat at the communications desk, her fingers moving over the controls. The sound from the alien meeting filled the room. The Vorthon looked like a tall blue tree with too many arms. When it spoke, its voice sounded like wind through leaves. Once again, the humans ignore our invitation. 50 years we have asked them to join us. 50 years they stay hidden in their little star system. Other aliens made sounds that the translation computer said were laughter. Park's jaw tightened. He had heard this before. Many times. A creature that looked like a giant. Spider stood up. This was a Threx, and when it spoke, its voice clicked and buzzed. Perhaps they are afraid. Their ships move so slowly. They burn chemicals to fly, like children playing with fireworks. More laughter filled the hall. Park stood up from his chair and walked to the big window. Outside, Earth hung in space like a blue and green jewel. It looked peaceful. It looked weak. That was exactly what Park wanted the aliens to think. Admiral Kim said quietly, "Should I turn off the feed?" "No," Park replied. "Let them talk. Let them think we are weak and stupid. We'll make things easier later." Kim nodded, but Park could see she was angry too. All humans who worked in space felt the same way. They were tired of being called primitive. They were tired of being treated like children, far below on Earth. Dr. Lee Min-ho was not watching the alien meeting. He was too busy with his real work. He stood in a control room buried deep under the ground in South Korea. Around him, dozens of screens showed images from space, but these were not images that any alien had ever seen. "How many ships are ready?" he asked his assistant. 732, sir," replied Engineer Yoon Jae-sung. "The last group will be finished in 4 months." Min-ho smiled. Good. Very good. On the screens, he could see the ships. They floated in the dark space beyond Pluto, where no alien eyes could find them. Each ship was as long as a city block and as wide as a football field. They were painted, black as space itself. Special technology made them invisible to alien sensors. The ships did not look like alien vessels. Alien ships were smooth and curved, like art pieces floating in space. Human ships looked like weapons. They had sharp edges and thick armor. They were built for one purpose: war. Sir Yoon said, "The aliens are talking about us again on the assembly feed." Min-ho turned to look at another screen. The same meeting that Admiral Park was watching appeared. A new alien was speaking now. This one looked like a floating jellyfish. "Made of light? The humans are not ready for galactic society," the jellyfish said. "They fight each other on their own planet. They destroy their own environment. They know nothing of peace." Min-ho laughed, but it was not a happy sound. "Peace," he said. "They call it peace when they control everything. When they make all the rules. When they decide who can speak and who must be silent." The jellyfish continued speaking. "Perhaps it is better that they stay away. What could such a primitive species offer us? What could they teach us that we do not already know?" Back on the orbital station, Admiral Park was asking himself the same question. But he was thinking about it differently. What could humans teach? The aliens? Quite a lot, he thought. Humans had learned to be patient. While aliens built their pretty ships and held their fancy meetings, humans had been working. They had been learning. They had been preparing. Sir Kim said, "There's a private message coming in from Earth Command." Park walked back to his chair. Put it on screen. The face of General Choi Dong-min appeared on the screen. Dong-min was an old friend, and Park could see worry in his eyes. "Hien-woo," Dong-min said, "we have a problem. The assembly is not just laughing at us anymore. They are getting angry. Park felt his stomach tighten. What kind of angry? They are talking about forcing us to join. Or forcing us to stay away forever. The Zephyrians are leading the discussion. They say we are being disrespectful. The Zephyrians were warrior aliens who looked like giant birds. They had fought wars across the galaxy before the assembly was created. If they were angry, it meant trouble. How long do we have? Park asked. Maybe 6 months? Maybe less. The assembly is planning something big. Our spies think they will give us an ultimatum soon. Park nodded slowly. He had known this day would come. Aliens had been patient for 50 years, but their patience was ending. Is the fleet ready? He asked. Dong-Min smiled for the first time. Minho says it will be ready in 4 months. 1,000 ships, just like we planned. Good, Park said. When they give us their ultimatum, we will give them our answer. After the call ended, Park stood alone in the control room. Kim had gone to get coffee, and the other staff were busy with their work. Looked out at Earth again, but now he was thinking about the future. The aliens thought humans were weak because they had never seen human strength. They thought humans were primitive because they had never seen human technology. They thought humans were afraid because they had never seen human courage. Soon, very soon, the aliens would learn they were wrong about everything. The assembly continued its meeting. Far away in the Great Hall, the aliens kept talking and laughing about the absent humans. They made jokes about primitive Earth technology. They wondered aloud if humans even knew how to build real spaceships. None of them knew that at that very moment, 1,000 human warships were floating in the dark waiting for their orders. None of them knew that Earth had been preparing. For this moment, for 50 years, the aliens would learn soon enough. And when they did, they would stop laughing forever. The message came at 3 a.m, Earth time. Admiral Park Hyun-woo was sleeping in his quarters on the orbital station when the emergency alarm woke him up. Red lights flashed in his room and the computer's voice echoed through the speakers. Admiral Park, please report to the command center immediately. Priority 1 message from Earth. Park pulled on his uniform and ran through the corridors. The station felt different at night. Quieter, more serious. Only the night shift worked at this hour, and they all looked worried. Lieutenant Kim Sojin met him at the command center door. Her face was pale, and she held a data pad in her shaking hands. Sir, it came through the secret channel. The one only our best spies use. It's from the assembly. Park took the data pad and read the message. His face grew dark as he read each word. When he finished, he read it again. Then he looked up at Kim. Get me General Choi on the secure line. Now. Yes, sir. Park walked to the big window and stared out at Earth. The planet looked so peaceful from up here. Blue oceans, white clouds, green and brown land. It was hard to believe that in a few minutes everything might change. The screen behind him flickered, and General Choi Dongmin's face appeared. Dongmin looked like he had not slept in days. You got it too? Dongmin asked. Yes. Is it real? Our people checked it 3 times. It's real. The assembly has made their decision. Park turned around to face the screen. Read it to me again. I want to hear it. I'm in. Picked up his own data pad and began to read. His voice was steady, but Park could hear the anger underneath. To the government of the planet Earth, the Galactic Assembly has discussed your continued absence from our meetings. For 50 years, we have invited you to join us. For 50 years, you have ignored us. This is no longer acceptable. Dongmin paused and looked up at Park. It gets worse. Keep reading. The Assembly has voted on Resolution 2847. You have 6 months to send a representative to explain your behavior. If you do not come, we will declare Earth a rogue system. All trade with your planet will stop. All communication will end. You will be alone in the galaxy forever. Park felt his hands close into fists. Who signed it? The Zephyrian Chancellor. Himself and the Vorthan High Council, the Threx Queen. All the big powers, I think we're children, Park said quietly. They think they can order us around like pets. On Earth in the buried control room, Dr. Lee Minho was reading the same message. But he was smiling. Engineer Yoon Jae-sung stood beside him, looking confused. Sir, why are you smiling? This is bad news. Minho put down the data pad and walked to the wall of screens. Each screen showed a different part of the secret fleet. The black ships hung in space like sleeping giants. Jae-sung, how long have we been working on this project? 30 years, sir, since I was just out of school. And why did we start it? Yoon thought for a moment. Because we knew this day would come. We knew the aliens would not let us stay free forever. Exactly, Minho said. I think they are giving us an ultimatum. But really, they are giving us permission. Permission for what? Grew wider. Permission to show them who we really are. In the capital city of Korea, President Yang Yoon-hae was calling an emergency meeting. It was 4 a.m, but she had woken up all the important people. The Human Council was gathering in the secure meeting room deep underground. The room was simple. Long table, comfortable chairs, and screens on the walls. No windows. No decoration. This was where the real decisions were made. One by one, the council members arrived. Admiral Park, joined by video link from the orbital station. General Choi came from the military base. Dr. Lee Min-ho drove in from the space project site. Others came from around the world. President Yang stood at the head of the table. She was a small woman, but when she spoke, everyone listened. Have all read the message? The assembly thinks they can force us to obey them. They think we are weak and afraid. What do you think we should do? Defense Minister Kong Daram spoke first. We should send a diplomat. We should explain that we are not trying to insult them. We are just not ready to join their assembly. I look weak doing it, said General Choi. They will think we are begging. Better than starting a war, Kong replied. Admiral Park's voice came through the speakers. There is a third option. Everyone turned to look at the screen. Park's face was calm, but his eyes were hard. We show them our fleet. The room went quiet. Everyone knew about the secret ships, but they had never talked about using them like this. All of them, asked President Yang. All 1,000. Dr. Lee Min-ho leaned forward. The ships are ready. We finished the last group yesterday. Every ship is armed and fueled. Every crew is trained. But if we show them, said Minister Kang, there's no going back. They will know we have been lying to them for 50 years. We have not been lying, Park said. We have been preparing. There is a difference. President Yang walked around the table thinking. She had been president for 10 years, but she had never faced a decision like this. Whatever they chose would change everything. General Choi, what do our spies tell us about the Assembly's military? They have about 3,000 ships total spread across the galaxy, but they are not used to working together. Each species has their own way of fighting, and our ships, built to work as one fleet. Same weapons, same tactics, same training. In a real fight, our 1,000 ships would be worth 3,000 of theirs. President Yang stopped walking and looked at each person around the table. Dr. Lee, are you certain the ships are ready? Yes, ma'am. Every system tested. Every weapon checked. Every crew ready. Admiral Park, can you get the fleet to the assembly without being detected? Yes, ma'am. Our fold space technology is still invisible to their sensors. Then we have our answer, President Yang said. We will go to their assembly. But we will not go as beggars. We will go as equals. The room was silent for a moment. Then General Choi smiled. When do we leave? The assembly meets in 4 months, President Yang said. We will need time to prepare our presentation, and time to move the fleet into position. What about the crews? Asked Dr. Lee. They have been training in secret for years. They deserve to know what's happening. Tell them, President Yang said. Tell them that the time for hiding is over. Tell them that in 4 months, the galaxy will know that humans are not weak. We are not primitive. We are not afraid. She looked around the table one more time. Tell them it's time to show the galaxy what humans can do. The meeting ended, but none of them went home. There was too much work to do. Messages had to be sent. Plans had to be made. Secret Fleet had to be prepared for its first real mission, far away on Nexus Prime. The aliens were still talking about the message they had sent to Earth. They were proud of themselves for finally taking action. They thought the humans would be scared. They thought Earth would send a frightened diplomat to beg for mercy. They had no idea that at that very moment, 1,000 human warships were getting ready to visit them. The aliens would get their answer from Earth, but it would not be the answer they expected. Commander Nam Ji-hoon walked through the corridors of the UES Defiance and felt proud. The ship was his home now, and it was the most beautiful thing he had ever seen. The walls were thick metal, painted gray and black. The lights were bright and clean. Everything was built to last. The Defiance was not like the pretty alien ships he had seen in the assembly videos. Those ships looked like art pieces, all smooth curves and glowing colors. The Defiance looked like what it was, a weapon. The commander called Captain Osuin from behind him. "We need to talk." Ji-hoon turned around. Seoin was the head of intelligence for the fleet. She knew secrets that most people could not imagine. She wanted to talk. It was always important. "What is it, Captain?" "Walk with me. What I have to tell you is not for everyone to hear." They walked to the observation deck. Through the thick windows, they could see the rest of the fleet. 999 other ships floated in the darkness of space. Each one was identical to the Defiance. Each one was ready for war.
Wow.
Ji-hoon, Suan said quietly, "Do you know how long we have been watching the aliens? 20 years? 30? 50 years? Since the day they first contacted us, we have had spies everywhere. In their governments, in their military, in their trade companies, we know everything about them." Ji-hoon stared at her. "Everything? Every ship they have, every weapon, every battle plan? We know which species are friends and which are enemies. We know their trade routes and their military bases. We know their weaknesses." She pulled out a data pad and showed him pictures. The first picture showed a Vorthon battleship. It looked like a tree made of metal, with long branches reaching out into space. "Beautiful, isn't it?" Seoin said. "But see those branches? They are also the ship's weapons. Cut off one branch, and the ship loses half its firepower." The next picture showed a Threx ship. It looked like a giant metal spider with 8 legs. "The Threx ships are fast and strong," Seoin continued, "but they have one big weakness. All their power comes from the center body. Hit the center and the whole ship dies." Ji-hoon looked at more pictures. Ephraim ships that looked like flying birds. Nexari ships that looked like floating crystals. Each one was beautiful. Each one had weaknesses that human spies had discovered. "The aliens think we are primitive," Seoin said. "They think we know nothing about space war. They are wrong." Far away, Dr. Yoon Jae-sung was explaining the same thing to a group of young engineers. They stood in the main hangar of the construction station, surrounded by the tools and machines that had built the fleet. "The aliens love fancy technology," Yoon said. "Energy shields that can stop anything. Plasma weapons that can melt metal. Gravity generators that can crush a ship." One of the engineers raised her hand. "Then why don't our ships have those things?" Yoon smiled. "Because we learned something the aliens forgot. Simple things work better than complex things. A hammer works better than a machine that might break." He walked over to a display case. Inside was a piece of alien technology, a small device that glowed with blue light. "This is a Vorthon energy shield generator. Very advanced, very powerful. But do you know what happens when you hit it with too much electricity?" The engineers shook their heads. "It explodes. The more advanced the technology, the more ways it can fail. Our ships use thick metal armor instead of energy shields. Metal doesn't explode. Metal doesn't fail. Metal just works." He moved to another display case. This one held a human weapon, a simple metal rod with electronics at one end. "This is our main weapon, a kinetic projectile. You fire it at half the speed of light. It hits with the force of a nuclear bomb. No fancy energy, no complex systems, just physics." "What about their plasma weapons?" asked another engineer. "Plasma is hot gas, very hot, but still just gas. Our armor is made of metals that can survive inside a star. Plasma cannot hurt us much." Yoon walked to the window and pointed at the ships floating outside. Every human ship is built the same way. Same armor, same weapons, same systems. If one ship needs repairs, parts from any other ship will work. The aliens build each ship differently. They think it makes them special. We think it makes them weak. On the bridge of the Defiance, Commander Nam Jae-hoon was learning about human tactics. Admiral Park Hyun-woo had come aboard to brief all the ship commanders. The meeting was held in the main conference room, with captains joining by video link from their own ships. The aliens fight like artists, Admiral Park said. Each ship tries to be the star of the battle. They spread out and fight alone. They think it looks more impressive. The display screen showed a simulation of an alien battle. The alien ships moved in wide circles, firing at each other from long range. It looked like a dance more than a fight. We fight like soldiers, Park continued. We work together. We support each other. Focus all our firepower on one enemy. At a time, the screen changed to show a human battle simulation. The human ships moved in tight formation, like a pack of wolves. When they attacked together. The aliens have never seen anything like this, Park said. They don't know how to fight a coordinated fleet. This gives us a big advantage. Captain Lee Soo-jin, commander of the UES Thunder, asked, "A question, Admiral. What if they try to negotiate? What if they offer us a deal before the fighting starts?" Park was quiet for a moment. They will try. They always try to talk first. But remember, they're not offering us a deal between equals. They are offering us a deal between master and slave. We will listen to what they say, but we will not accept slavery. The briefing continued for 2 hours. Every detail was discussed. Every possible situation was planned for. When it ended, Ji-hoon felt ready for anything. After the meeting, he walked through his ship again. This time, he saw it differently. The thick walls were not just protection, they were a statement. The simple, strong design was not just practical, it was a message. The message was clear. Humans were not interested in looking pretty or impressing anyone. They were interested in winning. In the engine room, Chief Engineer Kim Hwa-young was explaining the ship's power system to her crew. The engine room was huge, filled with machinery that hummed with power. "The aliens use quantum reactors," she said. "Very advanced. It's very efficient. Very dangerous. Something goes wrong, the whole ship disappears." She pointed to the human reactor at the center of the room. It was smaller than the alien versions, but it looked much stronger. "We use controlled antimatter. Old technology, but reliable. If something goes wrong, we can fix it." "The aliens cannot fix a quantum explosion." One of her engineers asked, "Chief, is it true that our ships are faster than theirs?" Kim smiled. "Oh yes, much faster. The aliens use quantum fold drive. They fold space to move from one place to another. But they can only fold space in certain ways. They have to use the fold lines that already exist." She pulled up a star map on the wall screen. Lines of light connected the stars, showing the fold lines that alien ships used. "We use fold space drive. We make our own fold lines. We can go anywhere, anytime. The aliens are stuck on the roads they have already built. We can go anywhere we want." The engineer whistled softly. "No wonder they don't know about our fleet. They can't see us when we're not using their roads." "Exactly," Kim said. "For 50 years, we have been building ships in places they cannot reach. When we arrive at the assembly, it will be the first time they see us. It will be quite a surprise." As the days passed, the fleet prepared for its mission. Every system was tested. Every weapon was checked. Every crew member practiced their job until they could do it perfectly, Commander. Nam Jae-hoon stood on the bridge of the Defiance and looked out at the other ships. Soon, very soon, they would leave this secret place. They would travel to the assembly and show the galaxy what humans could do. The aliens thought they were giving Earth an ultimatum. They thought they were forcing humans to choose between obedience and isolation. They had no idea that humans had already chosen the choice. It was simple: respect or war. The aliens would get to decide which one they preferred. The day had come. In the Great Hall of Nexus Prime, 847 alien species gathered for the most important assembly meeting in 300 years. They had come to see if the humans would finally answer their ultimatum. Chancellor Vex of the Zephyrian hegemony stood at the main podium. His feathers were bright gold, and his eyes were sharp like a hunting bird. He looked out at the thousands of alien representatives and felt satisfied. "Today, we will see if the humans have learned to respect the assembly," he said. His voice carried across the huge hall. "For 50 years, they have ignored us. Today, they will answer for their rudeness." The Vorthin representative, a tall blue creature named Elder Koth, raised one of his many arms. "Chancellor, what if they do not come? What if they continue to hide on their little planet? Then we will cut them off from the galaxy forever," Vex replied. "No trade, no communication, no contact. They will be alone until they learn to behave." Queen Zixa, of the Threx Collective, clicked her mandibles in approval. Her insect-like body was covered in shining black armor. Could the humans need to learn their place? They are primitives. They should be grateful we even noticed them. The aliens in the hall made sounds of agreement. They'd been patient for 50 years. Now their patience was over. High above the assembly, in the station's control room, Operator Nex was watching his screens. Nex was a Nexori, a being made of living crystal. His job was to watch for incoming ships and make sure the station was safe. The screens showed empty space in all directions. A few alien ships were docked at the station, but nothing else moved in the star system. "Still no sign of human ships?" Nex reported to his supervisor. "Maybe they are not coming." "Keep watching," his supervisor replied. "The day is not over yet." But Nex was not looking in the right places. Far beyond the edge of the star system, space itself was beginning to bend and twist. The human fleet was coming. But they were using technology that alien sensors could not detect. On the bridge of the UES Defiance, Commander Nam Jahun watched the navigation display. The fleet was almost ready to drop out of fold space. In 5 minutes, they would arrive at Nexus Prime. "All ships report ready, Commander," said Lieutenant Park Sejin. "Good, remember? We stay in formation. No one breaks ranks until Admiral Park gives the order." Ji-hoon looked around the bridge. His crew was calm and focused. They had trained for this moment for years. Now it was time to show the galaxy what humans could do. 30 seconds to arrival, called the navigation officer. Ji-hoon activated the ship's communication system. "Ash! All hands. This is the commander. In 30 seconds, we will arrive at Nexus Prime. The aliens think we are weak. They think we are afraid. Today we show them they are wrong." The countdown reached zero space around Nexus Prime, exploded with light as 1,000 human ships dropped out of fold space at exactly the same moment. They appeared in perfect formation, arranged in a sphere around the alien station. In the control room, Operator Nex stared at his screens in shock. One moment, space was empty. The next moment, it was full of massive black warships. "Supervisor," he called out, "we have ships. Thousands of them." "What?" The supervisor rushed over to look at the screens. "Where did they come from?" "They just appeared, all at once. The sensors didn't detect them until they were already here." Alarms began blaring throughout the station. Emergency lights flashed red. The peaceful assembly meeting was suddenly in chaos. In the Great Hall, the aliens looked up in confusion as warning sirens filled the air. Chancellor Vex's feathers puffed out in alarm. "What is happening?" he demanded. A station officer ran into the hall. "Chancellor, we have a situation. Ships have appeared around the station." "What ships? How many?" "Human ships, sir. 1,000 of them." The hall went completely silent. Every alien stared at the officer in disbelief. "Impossible," whispered Elder Koth. "Humans don't have that. Many ships. They barely have any ships at all." Queen Zix's mandibles clicked rapidly. "Are you sure they are human ships? Could they be from another species? They are sending identification signals, Your Majesty. They are definitely human." Chancellor Vex's voice was shaking. "Show us." The main display screen in the hall activated, showed the view from outside the station. The aliens gasped as they saw the human fleet. The ships were arranged in a perfect sphere around Nexus Prime. Each ship was enormous, bigger than most alien battleships. They were painted black as space itself, with no decorations or bright colors. They looked like weapons floating in the void. "By the ancient stars," whispered Elder Koth, "look at them. They are all identical. How is that possible? The aliens were used to seeing different types of ships. Each species built their vessels to look unique and beautiful. But the human ships were all exactly the same. They looked like they had been made by the same factory, at the same time, for the same purpose. They are so big, Queen Zixa said quietly. So many of them. On the bridge of the Defiance, Admiral Park Hyun-woo materialized in a column of light. The admiral had transported directly from his flagship to address the assembly. He wore his best uniform, with all his medals and decorations. "Commander," he said to Ji-hoon, "are we ready?" "Yes, sir." "All ships in position, all weapons powered but not armed." "We are ready to talk." "Good. Open a channel to the assembly." The communication officer worked at his console. "Channel open, sir." Park straightened his uniform and nodded to Ji-hoon. "Beam me to the assembly hall." In the great hall of Nexus Prime, a column of light appeared in the center of the room. Ow. The light faded. Admiral Park stood there, flanked by two other human officers. The aliens stared at them in shock. Park was not what they had expected. He was not a primitive savage or a frightened diplomat. He stood straight and proud, like a warrior who had never known defeat. "Honored members of the Galactic Assembly," Park said in perfect galactic standard. "I am Admiral Park Hyun-woo of the Human Federation. I apologize for our late arrival. We were busy preparing for this moment." Chancellor Vex found his voice first. "Admiral Park, we were not expecting such a large ... escort." Park smiled, but it was not a friendly smile. "The Human Federation believes in being prepared. We brought 1,000 ships to make sure our message is clearly understood." "What message is that?" asked Queen Zixa. "That humanity is ready to discuss our membership in the assembly. We are ready to take our place among the stars. We're ready to be treated as equals." The word equals hung in the air like a challenge. The aliens had never thought of humans as equals. They had always seen them as primitives, who might someday be allowed to join the galaxy's civilized species. Elderkoff's voice was weak. "Admiral, we had no idea that Earth possessed such military capabilities. Our information suggested that human technology was still quite primitive." "Your information was incorrect," Park replied. "Humans have been developing our technology for many years. We simply chose not to share it with others until now." "But how?" Chancellor Vex asked. "How did you build so many ships without anyone knowing?" Park's smile grew wider. "We are very good at keeping secrets. We're also very good at learning from others. While you thought we were hiding in fear, we were actually watching and learning." The aliens began to understand. For 50 years, they had ignored the humans. They had thought Earth was weak and isolated. But humans had been using that time to prepare. "What do you want?" Queen Zixa asked. "What we have always wanted," Park replied. "Respect, recognition, a place at the table as equals, not as pets or servants." He gestured toward the screens showing the human fleet. "We did not come here to threaten you. We came here to show you that we are ready to be partners. The choice is yours. You can welcome us as friends, or you can continue to treat us as inferiors." The Admiral paused and looked around the hall at all the alien faces. "But understand this. The days of ignoring humanity are over. We are here now. We are not going away. And we will not be treated as anything less than equals." The Great Hall was silent except for the hum of the station's systems. Outside, 1,000 human warships waited in perfect formation. The aliens were beginning to realize that everything had changed. The humans were not the weak, primitive species they had thought. They were something else entirely. They were a force to be reckoned with, and they were not going to be ignored anymore. The silence in the Great Hall stretched on for long minutes. The alien representatives stared at Admiral Park and the screen showing the human fleet. No one knew what to say. No one knew what to do. Finally, Elder Koth of the Vorthins stepped forward. His blue skin had turned a darker shade, which meant he was angry or scared. Maybe both. "Admiral Park," he said, his voice shaking slightly. "This is quite a surprise. We had no idea that Earth possessed such capabilities. Perhaps you could explain how you managed to build such a fleet without anyone knowing?" Park nodded calmly. Of course, Elder Koth, it was not difficult. You see, for 50 years, you assumed we were primitive because we did not attend your meetings. You assumed we were weak because we stayed in our own star system. You assumed we were hiding because we were afraid. He gestured to the screens showing the human ships. All of your assumptions were wrong. We were not hiding. We were preparing. While you held your meetings and made your speeches, we were building. While you laughed at our absence, we were learning. While you thought we were isolated, we were watching everything you did. Chancellor Vex's golden feathers ruffled in anger. Watching? What do you mean, watching? Admiral Parks smiled. We mean exactly that. For 50 years, human agents have lived among your people. They've worked in your governments, your militaries, your trade companies. They've learned your languages, your customs, your technologies. They have sent all that information back. To Earth, the hall erupted in shocked voices. Aliens turned to look at each other with suspicion. If humans had been spying for 50 years, who could they trust? Queen Zix's mandibles clicked rapidly. Impossible. We would have detected human spies. Your people look nothing like us. You are correct, Your Majesty, Park replied. Humans do look different from all of you. But humans are very good at hiding. We are very good at staying invisible. When we want to, he activated a small device on his uniform. The air shimmered, and suddenly, Captain Osuin appeared beside him. She had been standing there the whole time, invisible. This is Captain Osio, our Chief Intelligence Officer. She has been in this room for the past hour, listening to everything you said. None of you saw her. The aliens gasped. Could become invisible? How many spies were among them right now? How long had they been watched without knowing it? Captain O stepped forward and bowed politely. Honored representatives, I have been studying your species for 20 years. I speak 17 of your languages. I know your military strengths and weaknesses. I know your trade routes and your political secrets. And I am not the only one, Elder. Koth's voice was barely a whisper. How many? How many spies do you have? Enough, O replied simply. Chancellor Vex's anger was growing. His feathers were now bright red with rage. This is an outrage. Spying on the Assembly is a crime. Actions are illegal. Admiral Park's expression did not change. Illegal according to whose laws, Chancellor? We are not members of your Assembly. We have never agreed to follow your rules. You cannot make laws for people who never agreed to obey them. But still, Queen Zixa protested, spying is wrong. It shows that humans cannot be trusted. Park asked, you invited us to join your assembly, but you never told us your real rules. You never explained how your society works. You never shared your knowledge with us? How were we supposed to make an informed decision without information? The Admiral walked closer to the alien representatives. You say spying is wrong, but you have been spying on Earth for 50 years. You have been watching our planet with your sensors. You have been listening to our radio signals. You have been studying our behavior. The only difference is that we were better at it than you were. This was true, and the aliens knew it. They had been watching Earth since first contact. They had always assumed that humans were too primitive to notice. Elder Koth tried a different approach. Admiral, even if your spying was justified, this fleet is clearly a threat. 1,000 warships surrounding our station sends a very aggressive message, does it? Park asked. Let me ask you something, Elder Koth. When you invited us to this meeting, how many weapons did you bring? We brought no weapons. The Assembly is a place of peace. Really? Park activated another device. The main screen changed to show the space around Nexus Prime, but now it showed things that had been hidden before. The aliens saw their own ships, cloaked and hidden around the station. Hundreds of warships from dozens of species, all armed and ready for battle. Your sensors are not as good as ours, Park explained. We can see all of your hidden ships. We count 423 warships from various species, all within weapons range of this station. The aliens looked embarrassed. They had thought their ships were invisible. So please do not lecture us about bringing weapons to a peaceful meeting, Park continued. The difference is that our ships are visible. We are being honest about our strength. Queen Zix's voice was defensive. Those ships are for protection, in case something goes wrong. So are ours. Park replied calmly. At that moment, another alien stood up. This was General Vrak of the Colonian Empire, a species that looked like walking rocks. His voice sounded like grinding stone. Admiral Park, your words are clever. But words are not everything. You claim your ships are powerful, but we have only seen them sitting still. Any fool can build big ships. Question is, can they fight? A dangerous silence filled the hall. This was a direct challenge to human military capability. Admiral Park's smile became colder. An interesting question, General Vrak. Would you like a demonstration? I would, Vrak replied. Park touched his communicator. Commander Nam, you heard the General's request. Please give our guests a demonstration of human naval capabilities. Yes, sir, came Nam Ji-hoon's voice through the speakers. The main screen switched to show the human fleet. As the aliens watched, the 1,000 ships began to move. But they did not move like alien ships. Alien vessels moved individually, each following its own path. The human ships moved as one organism. The entire fleet rotated 90 degrees in perfect unison. Every ship turned at exactly the same speed, maintaining perfect formation. It was like watching a single massive machine with 1,000 parts. Impossible, whispered General Vrak. No fleet can coordinate like that. The communication delays alone would make it impossible. Human ships do not rely on traditional communication, Park explained. We have developed quantum link technology. That allows instant communication across any distance. Every ship in our fleet is connected to every other ship. They think and act as one mind. The demonstration continued. The fleet formed different shapes, a line, a wall, a sphere again. Each movement was perfectly coordinated. No alien fleet had ever moved with such precision. But can they fight? General Vrak insisted. Admiral Park looked at him seriously.
General.
Are you absolutely certain you want to see our weapons in action? Vrak hesitated. Something in Park's voice made him nervous. Perhaps a small demonstration, he said. Nothing too dangerous. Park nodded to Captain O. She activated a targeting system. There's an old asteroid about 1 million kilometers from here, she said. It is large, about the size of a city. We'll use it as a target. The screen showed the asteroid floating in space. It was dark and rocky, obviously dead for millions of years. Fire one kinetic projectile, Admiral Park ordered. On the screen, one of the human ships fired a single weapon. There was no flash of light, no beam of energy, just a small object launched into space. For 30 seconds, nothing happened. The aliens began to think the weapon had missed. Then the asteroid exploded. It did not just break apart, it was completely destroyed, turned into dust and tiny fragments in an instant. The explosion was so powerful that it lit up space for thousands of kilometers around. The aliens stared in shock. The asteroid had been solid rock, probably millions of tons. Now it was gone. That was one projectile from one ship, Admiral Park said quietly. We have 1,000 ships, each carrying hundreds of such weapons. General Vrak sat down heavily. His rock-like face showed no expression, but his voice was shaken.
How fast?
Was that projectile moving? Half the speed of light, Captain O replied. The kinetic energy alone was equivalent to several nuclear weapons. Elder Koth's voice was barely audible. And you have thousands of these weapons? Hundreds of thousands, Park corrected. Each ship carries 500 kinetic projectiles, plus various other weapons systems. The math was simple, and every alien in the hall could do it. The human fleet carried enough firepower to destroy entire planets. Queen Zix's mandibles were trembling. Admiral Park, surely you did not come here to threaten us. No, Your Majesty, Park replied. We came here to show you that we are equals. We are not weak primitives who need your protection. We are not inferior beings who should be grateful for your attention. We are your equals in every way that matters. He looked around the hall at all the alien faces. The question now is simple. Will you treat us as equals? Will you welcome us as partners in the galaxy? Or will you continue to see us as primitives who should be ignored? The Admiral paused for effect. Choose carefully. 'Cause the days when you could ignore humanity are over forever. The Great Hall of Nexus Prime was completely silent.
Ah, yes.
The aliens stared at the screen showing the empty space where the asteroid had been. Dust and tiny rocks drifted where a mountain-sized object had existed just moments before. Admiral Park stood calmly in the center of the hall, waiting. He had said his piece. Now it was time for the aliens to decide what kind of galaxy they wanted to live in. Chancellor Vex was the first to speak. His golden feathers had lost their bright color, and his voice was quiet. Admiral Park, he said slowly, the Zephyrian hegemony recognizes that we may have misunderstood the capabilities of humanity. That is an understatement, Chancellor, Park replied. Elder Koth stepped forward. His blue skin was now pale with shock. The Vorthan High Council wishes to formally apologize for any insult we may have given to the human people we did not know. We did not understand. Queen Zix's mandibles clicked nervously. The Threx Collective agrees. We spoke hastily. We spoke without knowledge. This was wrong of us. One by one, the other alien representatives stood up and offered their apologies. The mighty species that had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years were now apologizing to the humans they had mocked. Admiral Park listened to each apology with a calm expression. When the last alien had spoken, he nodded. The Human Federation accepts your apologies. We understand that mistakes happen when people do not have complete information. This is why we came here today, to give you complete information. General Vrak, the rock-like Colonian, asked the question that everyone was thinking. Admiral, what happens now? What does humanity want from the Assembly? Park activated a holographic projector. The image of President Yang Yunhee appeared in the center of the hall. She was broadcasting live from Earth. Honored representatives, President Yang said, I am President Yang Yunhee of the Human Federation. I speak for all humans when I say that we come in peace, do not seek to conquer or control. We seek only what every intelligent species deserves, respect, equality, and the right to determine our own future. She paused and looked around the hall, her image meeting the eyes of aliens from hundreds of worlds. We propose full membership. In the Galactic Assembly, we offer our technology, our knowledge, and our protection to all who accept us as equals. We ask for the same in return. Chancellor Vex found his voice again. President Yang, the Zephyrian hegemony, would be honored to support human membership in the Assembly, but we must ask, what guarantees do we have that humanity will use its power responsibly? President Yang smiled. It's the same guarantee that we have about any of you. None. Power is always dangerous, no matter who holds it. The question is not whether we can be trusted with power. The question is whether we can all work together to use our power wisely. Elder Koth raised one of his arms. The Vorthan High Council has a proposal. Rather than simply adding humanity to the existing assembly structure, perhaps we should consider a new partnership, a coalition of equals. This was a big change. The assembly had always been dominated by the older, more established species. The idea of true equality was revolutionary. Queen Zixa clicked her mandibles thoughtfully. The Threx Collective supports this idea. Perhaps it is time for the galaxy to have new leadership. Fresh ideas. Over the next hour, the aliens debated and discussed. They proposed new rules, new structures, new ways of organizing galactic society. Admiral Park listened and occasionally offered suggestions, but mostly he let them talk. Finally, they reached a decision. The vote was unanimous. Humanity would join the Assembly as a full and equal member. More than that, the Assembly itself would be reformed to ensure that no single species or group of species could dominate the others. Excellent, President Yang said from Earth. Now, let us discuss practical matters. Admiral Park, please explain. Our immediate proposals? Park activated another holographic display. This one showed star maps with trade routes and patrol areas marked in different colors. The Human Federation offers to take responsibility for protecting the Outer Rim territories, he said. These areas have been troubled by pirates and raiders for years. Our fleet can establish order there." This was another shock for the aliens. The Outer Rim was considered a dangerous, unprofitable area. Most species avoided it. "You would patrol the rim for free?" asked General Vrack. "Not for free," Park replied. "In exchange, we ask for the right to establish human colonies in unclaimed systems. We also request access to the Assembly's scientific databases and trade networks." This seemed reasonable to the aliens. In fact, it seemed generous. They would get protection for the troublesome Outer Rim, and all they had to give in return were things they had never offered to share with humanity anyway. The negotiations continued for several more hours. Maps were drawn, agreements were made, and treaties were signed. By the end of the day, humanity had gone from being ignored outsiders to being full partners in galactic civilization. As the formal ceremonies concluded, Admiral Park received a message from his fleet. Commander Nam Ji-hoon appeared on his personal communicator. "Admiral, we're receiving friendship signals from several alien fleets. Zephyrians are requesting permission to conduct joint training exercises. The Vorthons want to discuss technology." "Exchanges," Park smiled. "Grant the requests, Commander. It's time to start building bridges." But even as he spoke, Park was thinking about the future. The aliens had accepted humanity because they had no choice. They had seen human strength and decided that cooperation was better than conflict. This was good, but it was only the beginning. Real trust would take time to build. Real friendship would take even longer. And there were still dangers in the galaxy that no one had mentioned in the assembly today. Captain Ocean appeared beside him, materializing from invisibility. "Sir, our long-range sensors are detecting unusual activity in the Andromeda sector. Something big is moving out there. Something that doesn't match any known alien technology." Park nodded. He had been expecting this. Human spies had been reporting strange signals from outside the galaxy for months. Whatever was coming, it was not from any species in the assembly. "How long before it arrives?" he asked quietly. 6 months? Maybe less. Park looked around the Great Hall, where aliens and humans were now shaking hands and making plans for the future. They were celebrating their new partnership, unaware that a much greater challenge was approaching. "Start quiet preparations," he told. "Begin evacuating our most sensitive facilities. Send a coded message to Earth. Tell them to accelerate. Project Deep Shield." "Yes, sir." "What about the aliens? Should we warn them?" Park considered this carefully. The aliens had just accepted humanity as equals, but they still did not fully trust humans. If he told them about the approaching threat now, they might think it was a human trick to gain more power. Not yet, he decided. Let them get used to working with us first. When the threat becomes obvious, we'll face it together. Until then, we prepare quietly. As the assembly meeting finally ended, representatives from hundreds of worlds began to leave. Nexus Prime. They carried with them news that would change the galaxy forever. Humanity had emerged from isolation, and they were not the primitive species anyone had expected. Admiral Park stood on the observation deck of the Defiance and watched the alien ships depart. Some were already sending diplomatic messages to Earth, others were requesting meetings with human representatives. The galaxy was adapting to its new reality. But Park's mind was on the future. Humanity had won its place among the stars through strength and determination. Now they would have to prove they deserved that place by protecting not just themselves, but all the species that had once mocked them. The real test was still coming. In 6 months, something would arrive from beyond the galaxy. Something dangerous. Something that would threaten every intelligent species in the Milky Way. When that time came, the aliens would learn why humans had really built 1,000 warships. It was not just to demand respect, it was to defend the galaxy itself. The humans had always known that bigger threats were coming. They had prepared not just for war with the Assembly, but for war with something much worse. Soon, very soon, the galaxy would understand why. Earth had spent 50 years in silence. They had been getting ready to save everyone. The aliens had mocked Earth for missing every assembly meeting. They would soon be grateful that humanity had used that time so wisely.